Okay, and welcome to the Gestalt Media Cocktail Hour. We have Don Hosmer with us today, and David Allen Voiles, and Sean Burgess is our special guest. And everybody knows me, so I don't really need to. And if you don't, you should. And Luke, our editor,
right,
present.
Co-host.
So, what's everybody drinking today?
I've got Two-Hearted Ale out of the can. I'm keeping it classy.
You know what? I just cracked that bottle of red wine and I didn't even look at the label. That's pretty sad.
You're like, it doesn't matter.
That's too many days in quarantine.
I rush too. I'm on my coffee hour, so it's my iced coffee though with a splash of Kahlua.
Ooh, that's
nice. And I'm still recovering from the cocktail hour we had at 4. So I'm drinking water. Oh, that was, I don't know, man. I guess because I skipped lunch.
Who was 4 o'clock with?
So David and I both live in Asheville, near Asheville, even though neither one of us actually live in the city.
That's right.
And so we have a group, a writers group that's local, and so we try to have one every few days, every Thursday at least, maybe Mondays, Thursdays, something like that. So that's usually why the Thursday 6 o'clock hour is special.
Well, I didn't have time to grab a beer on the last one, so I'm in sad shape, but good shape.
Yeah.
Well, as David knows, I did not fall asleep till 9 o'clock this morning. So I just got up at 3. So this beer is kind of like my breakfast, I guess.
Oh, wow.
That's your breakfast.
Beer for breakfast is the way to go.
Start your day off right.
Yeah.
Sure, for sure.
Were you writing all night, Don?
No, I was having pain and then anxiety about pain. And then I got into bed. My husband's laying like this and kept going like his elbow. I'm like, okay, I'm just staying up.
But what I also know is that you were writing earlier and editing and doing quite a bit, because I don't know if it'd be spoiling anything for your fans, but I'm very thrilled with this because you wrote a horror story.
I know. And actually, Sean helped edit that way back when.
Oh, cool.
So he gave me some
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So I haven't opened your feedback yet, David, but I'm going to, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to send you a picture because I'm sure you'll want to use it as you do this. But my brother lives on the coast of North Carolina, and a number of years ago we visited. I can't even remember which beach it was, but they had the typical restaurants and everything. But that little town, that little community's claim to fame, they had this big statue of Poseidon, and my brother thought the face looked like me. So he made me, of course, stand beside him and my picture made with Poseidon, and that too. Where you want to go?
Where was that?
Where?
Yeah.
It'll come to me after a bit. I can't think of which community that was in. It was, I'll have to keep thinking about it. It's north of. We go to Topsail Beach a whole lot. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. That's still south of the Outer Banks. And it's before you get anywhere close to the Outer Banks in one of those communities there, I think.
They have a huge statue of Poseidon in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, I have to see that too.
He's got the turtle in one hand and the trident in the other, and it's pretty cool. I could see you kind of looking like that one. So,
well, my hair was also longer then at that picture, so it looked a little bit more authentic. If Poseidon wore glasses.
Well, he might by now. He's been around a long time.
Right?
So am I to use you as inspiration for my monster, David? Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, you have definite permission to do that.
So how have you been, Sean? Have you been writing, or what's going on?
I've been good. Honestly, I've been trying to get in a writing mindset, but I have not got a lot accomplished because I've got both my kids here. So my wife works full time too, so we're trying to usher them through their schoolwork, do my sales job as well. And but it's time. Like that's kind of my goal over the next couple of weeks, is to get some done.
So homeschooling, I taught school for 30 years, a public school teacher. So I'm amazed at what's going on now, and I can imagine that it's pretty superficial, whatever is being done at home. What's it like for you as a parent having to go through this with your kids at home? Are they still pretending having school?
Yeah, they are, and so they do some limited live kind of lessons, but a lot of it's virtual through the computer. And I'm pretty lucky because my kids are pretty self-motivated, so we do have to give them a nudge and keep them on track.
How old are they?
9 and 7. So.
Now,
Fortunately, they're good buddies.
I have a 13-year-old who is not self-motivated, and all of it's online. And I would say if he sat down and focused, it would be like 2, maybe 3 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pulling my hair out. I'm just like, I'm sending his teachers emails like, I love you. You don't get paid enough. Please take him back. It is awful.
What is that, like 8th grade?
Yes.
I saw a bunch of memes. Oh, sorry. I saw a bunch of memes when this whole thing started. I was like, a bunch of you parents are about to find out that teacher's not the problem. That was pretty relevant.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. And we were just having this discussion a little while ago about in the fall, if we really expect that schools can operate. I don't really see how they can. I really don't see that. If we do, then that's kind of going to be the experiment. That's going to be the biggest place where you're putting everybody together. So I don't know if we're really comfortable doing that. But maybe, I think we found out too that we're not really ready for virtual schools. We're not really ready for online. We are learning a lot, and that may be a good step for getting there, but we're not there definitely now. But I'm curious. I'm very curious about what will happen in the fall, in August and September.
Yeah, definitely.
Our school district sent an email that said they might do a combination of in-school and virtual learning to limit the amount of kids in the school and in each class, which I think would be good, although it terrifies me because I have an autoimmune issue. Of getting things started too quickly, but God, he needs to go to school. He needs to go to my house.
I think that's the other challenge, like logistically, if the kids are out of school, then like a lot of parents depend on that in some regard for like childcare for an extended period. So it's a big change for everyone. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a challenge. One of many.
I thought I didn't have time before, but now I seem to have less time, which is weird.
Constant demands. It's like being home. There's something constantly to do, and I just can't get into that creative space for some reason.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people have said that. Most people have said that. It's when you got that much stress in the world. I mean, it kind of seems trivial to be creating right now, and it takes some effort to get yourself back into that mindset.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, I feel like I'm like squandering this time because I know I do have some extra time, but the world's changing so rapidly right now. You're kind of paying attention to what's going on. Obviously, it impacts your life, but somehow I got to get into the creative mindset.
I think it really has to be kind of a routine. I hear exactly Jason's point, but I was just stuck in between. I don't know, phases of what was going on, that trying to get, like Dawn, she'd finished a book. I had just gotten the collection of stories together as a book. So then it's more the promoting and all the stuff you got to do there to kind of hype the book or do something to help Jason hype the book. And so you're not writing creative stuff except for, I think it's really a good thing that I have the podcast with the stories. It makes me have to at least dive back into those, and I'll be pulling out some old stories and vamping them up in the next couple of weeks. Although I think we'll be taking a break after this next one. I'm going to call it season 1. That'll be 13 stories on the podcast. that's a milestone. I think that
Yeah,
was
that's awesome.
celebrating to have 15 stories. We're doing it every 2 weeks, and still trying to get an interview or two in there. I want to do an interview. I have been so fascinated with this other horror podcast. That's the guy happens to live here in Asheville, and he has a crew of people that work with him, but it's still a small crew. But they're spread out all over. But it's called Old Gods of Appalachia. It is fantastic. It is so. He is such an excellent storyteller. Old Gods of Appalachia. Even if you don't like horror, you would love it because it's really a combination of like Lovecraft and Appalachian lore. But he has this rhythm and of an old storyteller, of an old mountain storyteller, and it's beautiful. The language is absolutely beautiful. I get lost in his language sometimes, and I have to go back and listen again to catch the story. But anyway, here's a plug for that if anybody's interested. But definitely check it out. It is anyway. I'm trying to hook up with him so that I could maybe interview him. And in the interim between the 2 seasons of stories, I could have an interview to post with Steve Shell, and I think that would be great. I haven't heard back yet. I'm still hoping to hear from him in time to do that. But anyway, so that's kind of where I've been. So there's kind of a creative element to that aspect of things. And I hope to get back into some more writing. And since I can't do the other book, like we talked about before, I want to get into the novel, but hopefully that can all roll. But yeah, I hear you. But Dawn, you've got the sequel, so you're going to have to kind of jump into that for the sequel for Bits and Pieces, right?
Yeah, and I've got about 12,000 words, but Tessa's exhausting. Like, I don't know that I can handle her right now. Every time I start to think about it, I'm just like, oh, she's exhausting. I can't.
Yeah.
But I hope I'm going to try to just force myself to sit down and write. Like, I know that once I get started, I'll be fine. It's just getting started.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if a little story involving her or her brother or some characters would be a way to jump into it that you just do, then you could save it for whatever, but to have a little side story might be a way to step back into it.
That's a good idea. Try to get her voice down again, because I feel like I've stepped away for a few months. So like her voice is kind of lost. And I thought, well, I could reread Bits and Pieces. I've read that too many. I don't want to reread that. So yeah, that's a great idea. Writing a little story.
I haven't done a sequel, but it does. I would think it would be a special challenge. Okay, challenge to get back into the group again, because I would say at least a minimum of 2 years would go by between the time that you would write, and for you, it might be more.
Well, I originally published in November 2018, and my goal was to have this one done by June. That's probably not going to happen, Jason, but you never know. Miracles can happen.
I'm definitely very curious to see where you'll take the story, Dawn. Bits and Pieces was such a great book.
It is.
You actually helped me. I'm not going to say much, but you actually helped me with my idea for this sequel, Sean. And I don't know if you remember the conversation, but it was based on one of my VSS tweets. And you said, this would be great for the sequel to Bits and Pieces. So that's what I'm going with.
Nice. I love it.
Creepy.
Creepy.
I like creepy.
Yeah, creepy's good. That's very good. So, Dawn, is it spoiling anything? I won't spoil it, but I just want to know if you could talk about it or not. Can you talk about your microfiction project?
Yes. Hi, Ann. And thank you for commenting and watching. My microfiction is on pre-order now, right, Jason?
Sure.
Well, we're working towards that.
It is. It's available on Amazon as an ebook. It should go on our website, on the Gestalt Media website tomorrow. Should go live. And then the paperback by the end of the month will be available. It should be sooner than that. Yeah, but that's it. It's out there. You can get your hands on it. I recommend it. It's very interesting. Certainly, it's fun to take a walk through your year and how many times your husband has died in 365 days. I think you got him a solid 500 times in that.
That's hilarious. And Jason is right now in communication with my husband because he's doing electrical work, and I really think it's just an excuse to make sure he's alive. Like,
So welfare check.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's using his cell phone. That's all I can say.
I could not answer electrical questions. I promise you.
Google, you can make it up. I mean, I wouldn't know if you were lying.
That's true. That's true. But what I did is I went back only about 9 months and picked some of my favorite VSSs, my favorite sat splats. I always participate in that, and put them in a book and called the book Mosaic, because I feel like we're all made up of these different pieces and parts. And we have dark sides, we have loving sides, we go through grief, and those are often jumbled up into a big mix. It's not like, oh, today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm sad. No, especially if you're a woman, you have those feelings all throughout the day. Like 1 minute happy, 1 minute sad, 1 minute kill yourself. What?
None of us are a woman.
You live with women. You can relate. So I think it's like 300 pages, right, Jason?
Right at it.
Okay. But I'm really excited about it. Originally, I did it to offer as a free newsletter subscription ebook. But then when I saw how much work it was, I'm like, we need to sell this. Like,
you could excerpt it for free things.
What did you say?
You could excerpt it, make little chunks of it that you might make offers to.
That's true.
In your newsletter or something. I have to say, because I was thinking about, you were definitely involved in helping me discover very short stories, the VSS 365 and what it was like. And I really enjoyed it because I think it's a great writing exercise. So without knowing that you were doing what you were doing, I kind of thought, well, yeah, it would be really cool to do 365 days of what you do. So on a different way, I promise this is not going to steal your idea. But it just happened to have an artist, but mine are always horror. I'll have to go longer than 365 because I experimented with some days. I mean, just doing some silly little things for the prompt. But I want to stick with horror, my genre, of course. But anyway, this young guy he just sketches, and he's always putting his sketches on Instagram, little horror sketches. And I said, hey, would you like to try this? I'm just send you a little very short story, and whatever strikes you, draw an image. And so it'd be kind of like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The idea behind the artist, Stephen Gamble was the artist, and Alvin, what was his name? I've forgotten the author's name. That's how important the art was to me in that book. I really liked the art in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark as much as the stories. And he said, yeah, I'd like to do it. So we're going to just try it out and see what it would be like to put these little stories with an art picture, kind of like that, and have very, very short stories.
That's very cool. As a
go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I was just saying, as a huge horror fan, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Like, if you can get the visual along with the words, the creepy words, kind of setting the tone. I think it's Do you plan to actually roll it out as a publication, or are you just playing around?
Well, I want to do something as a publication, trying to figure out the format. We kind of played with the idea, and I don't know, and Jason's input will be, he's the first he's hearing of this for the most part.
This is the first time he's mentioned it to his publisher.
Well, it was a long time ago, but I don't think you remembered it. But I didn't know what exactly Sean's question. I didn't know what kind of format. And so my son and I were talking about it like more, he was thinking of, and my wife too, as a calendar, you had Far Side comics, tear off. Oh, cool. So, I mean, you could do that, but then you're done at a year and, so I'm kind of thinking of I don't know, maybe another format of a daily thing. It doesn't have to relate to January 1st. It could just be these are 365 days.
You should start at October 26th and be a countdown to Halloween the next year.
Yeah, there you go.
I would buy it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So that'd be about the right timing too, because I'll have to go through things, and then by a year from Halloween would be about right. That's not a bad idea.
David, you and Sean are kindred spirits. I don't know if you guys follow each other, but Sean, you should see his Halloween decorations.
Oh,
He
I do love Halloween.
goes wild. And David used to do. Tell him what you used to do with the hearse.
Yeah, with the hearse. Yeah, the hearse is. I can almost see it from where I'm sitting in this little room here. Yeah, for years though. I mean, my son is 36 or 37. Before he was born, we were involved in hosting a Halloween party every year. And it's not that it has huge numbers of people, but it grew in the sense of what we did. We just got into ridiculous costs, storytelling and all kinds of things for Halloween, and made it a big deal. So that went on and on and on. And then about 5 years ago, we started thinking about, well, actually we were grilling. I remember it very specifically. We were grilling hamburgers on our deck, which we do often. And I started thinking, people, we had the Halloween party and we were kind of, rehashing that and going over it. And said, what would be kind of cool is if you could take people, bring them up here in a hearse. We didn't have a hearse. Bring them up here in a hearse and do these stories and do like a ghost tour. And by the end of the conversation, we'd actually talked ourselves into, let's buy a hearse, let's renovate it. We can ride. Well, it turned out 6 people is the comfortable number that you can get in the back of a hearse, and drive around and tell them ghost stories and take them to haunted sites. And we did that for 3 years as a company called Dark Ride Tours. And if had the hearse was just not as 1972 Cadillac hearse, so it's almost got fins. It's got the suggestion of fins, and beautiful. Has a flat screen TV in the back, and we could stream outside. So with a computer laptop in the front seat, where my son, who looked like the Grim Reaper, was dressed like the Grim Reaper, is big. I look like an Undertaker. He could work the laptop, and while you're streaming, looking out it looked like the window, but it was really a TV screen. And they knew it was a TV screen because we showed other things on it. But you could make ghosts appear when you were streaming outside. So if you were stuck in the church parking lot where I was telling a story, we'd get out, have a story, and I'd say, we're going to hear or see ghosts with me talking out here. Let's get in the hearse. I'll tell you a little bit more. Watching, and we'll see what happens. And we'd have orbs float by, and then the lady in white by, and all kinds of. And then we'd have a big scare at the end where we'd act like the hearse was, stopped. We had ghosts and attacking the car we couldn't drive, so you just have to sit there. And I'd close them off in the back, and all kinds of hell broke loose. But yeah, we are over the top. That was a long answer to Dawn's question about Halloween and ghost stories, but it did prompt a lot, and that's why I call this next collection of stories "Tales from the Hearse." So
I love it.
Right there. So they are kind of tales from. They're not only one of the stories is one that kind of grew from one story I told in the hearse, but it was the idea of them being from the hearse.
That's fun. We've done Halloween parties as well for years, so I don't think my wife would let me break down and get a hearse, but we have tons of props and typically build stuff. Yeah.
It's not hard to find somebody who's selling one.
Oh yeah, no, it's hard to convince her to let me buy one and keep it here.
Yeah, it's to keeping that thing running. That's the
trick. The older one, and you want an older one because they have all the style and pizzazz. That's what was cool about it. But it looks really nice. Big red curtains everywhere. A nice L-shaped couch where you sit in the back. I sat on a little stool, and I was Virgil Nightshade, which I really like the name because I was being an English teacher and teaching English lit or American lit. Virgil was I took it from Dante. Like Virgil was the host for Dante as he went through hell, through the different seven, the 9 circles of hell. Virgil, the Roman poet. And Nightshade was from Ray Bradbury, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Jim Nightshade was one of the 2 boys. And that's just a great name, Nightshade anyway. So Virgil Nightshade. I still like playing with that name a little bit, but that was the character who took you on the tours when you took a dark ride with us.
That's pretty awesome.
Something Wicked This Way Comes is like the first movie that I can remember like ever scaring me. I saw it in the theater, and I was a pretty young kid there, and with that spider scene,
Yeah, the
it
spider
freaked me out. Now it's not so scary if you look back on it, but
no, it's not as bad.
it made
It's
an impression.
a Disney movie actually, but it was a pretty dark movie for a Disney movie. But it's a movie, and the book is absolutely one of my favorites. One of my favorite Bradbury books. I just think the character. In fact, every Halloween, it's the Dark Carnival that he writes about, and I'm Mr. Dark every year with the Halloween party, and my wife is Mrs. Dark. So, oh yes, we miss the witch very much. I'm looking for her. Absolutely.
Now's the time that she should be here. We're talking about the creepy stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Man, I was watching Plan 9 because, like, how can you not watch the worst movie ever made?
Oh, yeah, I've never seen it.
You've never seen Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Mm-mm.
That's Ed
Oh
Wood.
my God. Have you ever seen Ed Wood?
He's the guy. That's a
Okay. Well, everybody's homework is to watch Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is only like an hour long, and then watch Ed Wood so you'll understand it.
yeah.
Is it like Mystery Science Theater 3000 type stuff?
They did a riff tracks of it, yeah. Which is totally worth watching and way better than seeing it without the commentary. Like, it's seriously like pie plates glued together and cardboard sets that are barely hanging on. It is Bela Lugosi's last film that he died during the filming of it. And then they replaced him with a guy that looks nothing like him.
And the Hollywood hostess Vampira, or what? No, what did she? Yeah, what does she call herself?
Elvira. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
The Elvira, right?
It was another version of it. Yeah, it's what Elvira was based on. But now I understand where Ryan comes from. Once you've seen Vampira, I was like, oh, got you. Maybe
I understand you.
It's like, I see it now. I see it. And I mean that very affectionately.
Tiniest waist, and they even said it's rumored. I don't know if that that she had ribs removed in order to have this very, very tiny waist.
Well, yeah, she never moved in the movie. She just stood there with those like 10-foot nails and just kind of looked scary. It's definitely worth your time. It's just like, don't go in it expecting much. But it's kind of like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes kind of thing, where it's so absurd that it's good somehow.
Well, we didn't make it
Like
that
Evil
way.
Dead.
I don't know. The year was probably late 50s, early 60s.
Oh yeah. Like, they barely had color.
Bela Lugosi die. I mean, because it really was right at that point in time. But it's a classic. But then Ed Wood, the movie about the director, is
which is even weirder.
Johnny Depp is Ed Wood, and Martin Landau plays Bela Lugosi.
It's 56 was when the movie came out. 56, 57.
Oh, wow.
So
Check it out.
definitely. Like, once you've seen that and you're like, who makes this? And then you watch Ed Wood, which he's got Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood. So he plays the director, and then you're like, oh, now it makes sense. And holy crap, how did that happen? Like, how did anybody let this happen?
That's funny.
Yeah, I definitely highly recommend that for sure. So, Sean, who else are your authors that you like? Is horror your genre, or you obviously read thrillers and?
Yeah, I read a little bit of everything, honestly, but I gravitate definitely towards like horror thrillers. I like stuff with the supernatural. Probably reflects a lot in my work. Definitely my Halloween influences probably reflect in there. So I hadn't really been writing lately, but I've been kind of reviewing all the audio chapters for the Tear Collector. So that's been kind of a fun like break in the interim here.
Who's reading your book?
A gentleman named Lou Petrella. And, thanks, Don.
You're welcome. It's a really good book.
Yeah.
Definitely
Thank you, my friend. He's got a really cool voice, so it's been exciting to kind of like listen to him like bring it to life, and kind of we're exchanging notes and kind of collaborating together on.
Awesome, cool. I mean, do you mind if we ask how did you locate him through ACX, or is it somebody that you?
Yeah, it's through ACX, and my publisher kind of auditioned a few people, and we really liked his voice and kind of how he brought the story to life. So it's gonna be fun. I don't have like a completion date. He's probably about 40% of the way through. So we'll probably get it done in the next couple of months.
Awesome.
So I'm excited.
Have you had anything else done audio? Have an audio book? I'm curious about how that plays and how it sells compared to your print book and all that. So of course you don't know about this one yet, but
yeah. So the tier collector is actually my debut. So so this will be a first for me, like going to the audiobook. Now I have heard that since quarantine started and stay at home around the world, that audiobook sales have like absolutely tanked because of people aren't commuting. Yeah, and that's totally where they listen to them. So hopefully this will come out around the time when people are commuting back to work.
That'd be awesome. For so many reasons.
Now, my sales, like on Bits and Pieces, I released the audio in, I believe, January of 2019. And I've had about 125 downloads of it and people listening. The End of Echoes, I did not make it exclusive to Audible. So I know I've had like 30 Audible listeners, but then I got a check from the production or the distribution company that have sold it to stores and libraries and things like that. So it's harder to keep track when you're not Audible exclusive. But somewhere in between, I'm going to do Audible exclusive again. It's just, I think, easier to market. They give you promo codes that you can give out. So to get reviews and to get listeners, and they used to pay you for those free promo codes. So if I give free promo codes, somebody would use them, they'd pay you. I don't know that they're continuing to do that, which is sad because that was so helpful money-wise.
Yeah, I heard that ended actually already.
Yeah. I'm trying to deny it.
Amazon's been hurting for money, so.
Yeah, sure.
That's why they're on a record hiring.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I've got nothing good to say about Amazon, and so we'll just skirt around that subject. We'll be here another hour. But no, I think the Audible thing is really interesting, and actually, now that you mentioned it, I kind of want to go check our podcast and see how they're doing, because I'm curious if people are listening more during quarantine because you got dick else to do, or if it's because like you said, you're not driving to work. Maybe they don't have that commute time anymore, the time to themselves.
Right.
So I'm wondering how podcasting is handling this.
Yeah.
I've had several people reach out and say they're doing it while they're cleaning. So like they're just trying audiobooks for the first time now that they're home because they're cleaning and want to listen to a book or what have you. So I think it's gone both ways. Like I've had some first-time listeners, but then those that aren't commuting anymore. So I don't know.
I didn't start listening to audiobooks until I started working from home.
Really?
I had all that time, and you're just by yourself. So I was like, shoot, might as well listen to a book, and get something out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it does. The industry's not gonna fail over this, but I'm curious how it'll change.
Yeah, new trends may develop. That'll be worth following to see what happens. But
So have you guys been reading a lot in quarantine?
Not a bit.
I know you have, Jason. I have been reading like a mad woman, so that's like my escape. So
what are you reading?
Right now I'm reading Little Demons Inside by Micah Chaim. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sean, you got to read it.
My alley.
You would love it. It is so good. It's a 3-book series, so this is the first book, but It is good. I think it's
Cool.
speculative fiction. And then I've been reading a lot of traditional authors. I got birthday money and a Barnes & Noble gift card and went and bought a stack like this big. So I'm working my way through those as well.
Nice. I'm reading Jennifer Susie's book, Demon in Me. She just released that. So far, really good. I'm like 60, 70 pages in. And then on my list is DM Shepherd's book, her novella that just came out. And then
Darkland.
Yeah. So I'm excited to read that. I know she's been working on that for a while, and I think there's like another installment almost ready to go. So should be fun. And then I'm taking a foray into Paul Tremblay's Cabin in the Woods. So that's the other one.
That's
or
cool.
Cabin at the End of the World. Excuse me.
Cabin at the End of the World. Yeah. That's
good.
A really good book. I like Tremblay a lot.
I'm also reading David's book, The 13th Day of Christmas, but as you all know, I'm a wuss. Sean knows because I read an arc of his book. I'm like, I have to read horror in very small doses or I will never sleep again. So I'm slowly working through David's and really enjoying it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Which is funny because your books are really scary too. They're very scary.
In a different way, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been reading the Tales from the Hearse by David Allen Boyles. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. So I've been reading that one. And then I've been reading
You don't even know the title.
Somewhere in Between by Dawn. I've been reading that one. And then there's she also did like a short little microfiction mosaic. I've been reading that too.
I'm convinced. Yeah, Jason. I'm convinced that his brain compartmentalizes so that he can format without actually reading.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you must be able to do that because I don't think there's no way in the time of things. I think that you could actually absorb what's going on in the book, which is probably a good thing because it wouldn't get done. We've got to get these books formatted. So, but I was curious about what that process must be like because as soon as you had done that and he did an amazing job, it's like, how are you doing that fast? How can you get this thing done? And then
necessity.
It got done. But I don't. No, I feel a teacher, that would be a different story.
I know what most of the stories are. So we'll figure. I don't actually read. I read a lot of our novels that we do, but I have an editor who does that. He reads them and does all the proofreading. And we send it through a lot of different people. Huh?
Luke's the editor.
Yes. Luke the cat. But because a lot of you guys asked me, it was after your books came out that I was like, I finally finished reading that book. It was as good as like I had read it. I read like 3 or 4 chapters of it. I'm like, this is good enough to send to the editor. The editor reads it, and if she likes it or they like it in most cases, then they're like, okay, let's do it. And then while we're waiting on covers and stuff, I pick it back up and I'm like, okay, cool, let's finish this. Let's finish this book. So I know most of the stories that are in Tales from the Hearse. I know what they're about, but I haven't sat down and read them for fun yet.
Yes.
So
I almost sent, when I might still do this, though the threat still hangs. But after reading your story, which was set at the beach, I said, one of my stories is a beach story. I just want to say, I can't wait until you get the book. I may have to just send you the story by itself. And have fun with that too. It's really, I think you'd like it. I can't tell exactly what it is that is terrifying for you in a story, so it's hard for me to predict. But it seems like I think this one would be. It's scary, but it's definitely in a different vein.
My whole thing is demonic stuff, or ghosts, like evil ghosts. Like that's the stuff I can't handle. Like murder, okay, fine.
But you made it through Ghost Story just fine.
What'd you say?
You made it through Ghost Story just fine, and that's literally about nothing but ghosts.
And a couple parts creep me out, but yeah. Yeah, the hitchhiker scene creeped me out a lot. I just have to read it in the right, be in the right frame of mind.
So that's why you write a demon story when you do your horror story.
That's true. What is wrong with me?
You say that demons.
Yes, and I write a demonic story. Oh my god. I know. It makes no sense.
I mean, if that's what scares you, then that's what you write about when you do horror stuff. So
Absolutely.
you got to feel it for it to come out on the page.
In fact, I ask that of everybody. As a child, did you have anything in particular that put you over the edge? If there was a specific movie or a specific dream or an experience, what were those?
I read the Amityville Horror when I was maybe 10 years old. And that was a bad plan.
Yeah. That would do it.
Yeah, definitely lots of movies. I mean, I think if you look back at just like Nightmare on Elm Street, that type of franchise, like the first one, like some of that stuff, and depending on the age that you encounter that stuff, can leave a pretty lasting impression.
Yeah.
I was like a child of the 80s, so lots of slasher stuff, that kind of stuff, you know, and like John Carpenter's A Thing, that kind of stuff, just kind of leaves a lasting impression. But I can't remember anything that just really like terrified me, other than I had like night terrors, probably from
Watching this.
yeah, probably from what I was ingesting.
Horror that you watched.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I know my mom, I don't know what my parents were thinking. I watched The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, and the original Amityville Horror when I was probably about 8.
Nice.
I still, to this day, I don't know if you remember the scene in Amityville Horror where they look out the window and there's like red eyes staring back in at night. I still, to this day, when I look out the window at night, I'm like, I'm going to see those freaking red eyes staring at me. That traumatized me. And then Jason knows, like, my dad's house seriously was haunted growing
And I'm
up.
going to get her to tell that story in our upcoming haunted audiobook.
I tried. You said it had to be longer. I tried to tell a snippet, but that house terrified me growing up. And I think that's where like this fear of like demonic or evil things came from, because whatever was in that house was evil and left its mark.
Well, that would do it. And watching The Exorcist as a child, I thought it was terrifying as an adult watching it. I was in college, I think, when it came out. And there were a group of us, we had a plan that we were going to go see it. And I won't go into too much detail about state of mind and how we were preparing to go to that movie. But I'm very glad that we did not see the movie that night. So it was years later before I saw it. And I still found it incredibly scary and terrifying. There's something about that movie that I think, and it is probably the demonic thing, but I remember in that movie, just still, if I'm watching it and they start to go up the steps to Reagan's room, my heart starts racing. I'm not ready to go in yet. I mean, those are the kind of effects I have with that. But as a child, I'd had these weird experiences. I had a deal about dolls. Dolls always have been very terrifying to me. And I think that's because I somehow saw an image. Like ventriloquist dolls, especially, are really freaky. And there was a Twilight Zone episode that I should not have seen, but I managed to see it as a small child, where you had that doll coming to life. There are a couple of really good old Twilight Zone episodes with those dolls. But when I was 3 or 4 years old, I don't think I could have even seen that TV show. But I had this image or a dream. I dreamed of this doll attacking me and biting me on the arm. And when I woke up, there were teeth marks on my arm. And that was my mind. Like, okay. And I imagine, as think about it now growing up, that as a child I was biting myself or something. But as a kid, you're thinking, oh, the break from the dream world, the real world was there. That was just like, oh my gosh. So I still love to write about dolls and you'll find dolls that often pop up in my book, especially the ventriloquist doll. I got a number of ventriloquist doll stories coming up, or ventriloquists in general. But dolls will work their way into many of my stories.
Definitely creepy, for sure.
Yeah.
I hear Luke. You wanting in on the conversation?
Jason doesn't even hear Luke anymore, I don't think. When he howls like that.
He's just always here.
So can I tell you guys one of my creepy stories?
Yeah.
Okay. So my stepsister, who is about a year and a half older than me, we were left alone far too often. I don't know what our parents were doing, but they weren't there. And we had a Ouija board. And we'd play with the Ouija board. Well, you know, I'm always assuming that one of us is pushing it, making it say things. Well, so we're using the Ouija board, and it tells us this guy's name, his age, and that he died in a car accident. We're like, you know, I walk away thinking she did it. She walks away thinking I did it. I'd say 6 months later, we're in the library, and that was when you use the old microfiche machines.
Yeah.
And we're doing a report, and her face goes ghost white. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she calls me over, and she just points. And it is an article in the newspaper about that guy.
Oh, wow.
That he died in a car accident. The exact details that came out in the Ouija board. Well, then I did not know. The creepy thing is, years later, or just like this year, I was talking to my dad, and I told him, you know, about the Ouija board, and he's like, "Well, why'd you have a Ouija board? Well, why didn't you know?" That's another thing. But he's like, "Well, you know that my cousin was killed right out in front of our house, was hit by a car," and I'm like, no, I did not know that. And I wish I could have remembered the name, because he told me his name. And I'm like, I got chill, like full body chills over that. Because I'm like, that is freaking creepy. Like,
Yep.
We burned the Ouija board after that. We threw it out.
Nothing good comes from those. Nothing at all.
No.
So great entertainment, but if we mess around, there's stories. There are many stories.
That's amazing. Well, I won't be messing with it. In fact, I mean, I've put together, I love a good ghost story. I grew up just obsessed with that, like all the X-Files stuff, and then Tales from the Crypt and anything like that. I was just all about it. And I put together this audiobook, Haunted. You may have heard of it by now, John, or not. I don't know. But after hearing all of those stories, I'm good. Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna put this out, and then I'm just not ever going to just worry about it again. You can have too much for sure.
Yeah.
But some of these stories are so like, most of you know about Anna's story with the train that she's told you about the.
No.
Hang on a second.
Anna, it's her only break from Jason.
Well, I won't give it all away, but basically it was an encounter with a thing that wasn't really there. And I mean, there's a lot of coincidences that you can make up, you know, where maybe you heard something, maybe you saw something, but in this particular case, it was clearly there, but not. Like no sound, no substance, but visually it's hard to miss something that big.
A train.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm hearing about a lot of those and hearing about like some of the things that people have told, and then the evidence they have to back it up with. And you're like, man, that's weird, you know? So, especially Gettysburg. I think we have 2 or 3 stories from Gettysburg specifically, and it's amazing how many people see the exact same thing when they go there and can back each other up.
Wow.
To the point that it's just accepted phenomena at this point. And they're just like, yeah, if you come here, you're going to see that. Don't worry about it. We even tell you what time of day to show up if you really want to
Wow.
encounter those things. I think that's really cool and kind of creepy. So
Yeah.
It's like the apparition, like soldiers kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the main ones is the soldiers walking on the road is pretty common that you'll walk into them. Another is that at night you'll see cannon fire, but no sound. So you'll see the flashes, but you won't hear anything. And some people hear stuff when they're out there, but it's to the point where they're like, yeah, you'll wake up every night, look over this field, and you'll see the flashes of light for the cannons. And it's hard to imagine it's anything else because fireflies aren't 3 feet across, shit like that. And it's just wild that so many people can back that up. So
that is amazing. Well, maybe it's time to plug Haunted again. What's the status? Can you give us the little?
So we got fully funded. We ran the Kickstarter. Anybody that wants to append, I will accept that. So we're still accepting donations for people who want to support the project. But it was fully funded. It is about halfway through completion. So right now I am mastering the stories that we have and adding the sound effects, the background music, all that, and still collecting stories from some people who, because of everything that's going on, it's been kind of hard to chase everyone down and get them to record their story. But over the next month, we should have them all collected, and then it's going to release in September. And that'll come with a printed companion. So it's going to have transcripts of all the stories and interviews with the people who were there. And we have some really kick-ass photos, including one that, like, I've seen a lot of things where people are like, I took a picture of a ghost. I'm like, okay, that's you need to clean your lens. There's nothing there. But a friend of mine was like, she told me one of the scariest stories I've ever heard. Like, I almost didn't sit and listen to the end of the story. I was like, you just need to quit talking. Because I'm like, I'm near you, and I don't want this rubbing off. She told me one of the scariest ghost stories I've ever heard. And she's like, and I got a picture of it. And she showed me the picture and I'm like, yep, that's a picture of a ghost. There's nothing else it can be. You look at it and you're like, no, that's clearly a person. It's the shape of a person. And the lighting is even wrong for it to be shadows or glare or anything like that. I was like, okay, cool. I believe you. Was
that printed companion?
What?
Picture in the printed companion book?
So a lot of photos will be in the printed book, and that's one of them.
That's neat.
There. Some of them are locations. Some of them are people who went back and tried to get evidence and get some things. So there's plenty of orbs and stuff like that if you're into those things. And then there's some that are kind of like, well, that's different. So,
it sounds like an awesome book.
I'm super excited about it. And the best part was that we got everyone to tell their own story. So it's good. You've got that firsthand. So you made me talk about it. You've got that firsthand feel. And that's what, have you ever seen anybody ever seen Celebrity Ghost Story?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
That's where I got the idea, more or less. A friend of mine kept sending me, because apparently in other countries, and he lives he's been traveling the world for years. They like to record themselves talking and just send it to somebody. And they do this all the time. So he kept sending me these audio clips of him telling stories. And I was like, this is a really cool medium. And I saw Celebrity Ghost Story, which is just them and a camera. And that's it. And they just tell you their story. And I think they do some, like they started doing little like reenactments during it, but it was so stripped down. And it's the creepiest thing you've ever seen because it's so personal. And so with this, everyone's telling their own story. You can hear the inflection in their voice. You can hear how much they believe it, how much they felt when they were there. And it just adds another layer to it. The sample is still on our Kickstarter page, and it's on our YouTube channel with Jason Chestnut telling his story. And his is kind of a tame story, but to hear him tell it will creep you the fuck out. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be a great project. I hope we get to do more. Our next one is going to be, I already have some UFO stories and some stuff like that, some cryptids. Friends of mine are like Bigfoot hunters. Essentially, they're paranormal investigators, so they've got some cool stuff. And anybody who wants to contact us with their true weird stories of just strangeness that they've encountered, we'll hopefully get that one out either late this year or next year.
That's cool.
I'm done.
I will not be reading or listening. You can tell me all about it. I did donate though, but I said, do not give me anything.
Oh, that's too funny. There'll have to be a rating system that we can put on there, like too scary for Dawn. Like,
Exactly.
another good selling point.
So to answer the DM, I freaking love cryptid. I love well, we have the Pisgah National Forest is right behind where our property is, so we have literally miles of uninterrupted woodland that butts up to this property. So the idea that there might be something living out there is just a little too hard to resist. So especially we found the camp where I guess, I don't know, homeless people, I don't know, somebody was living there. So you stumble upon stuff like that all the time, and you realize it is very possible to live out there and never be seen.
It's crazy.
So, I'm super interested in that sort of stuff. And we have a friend of mine who's military. He's like career military. And he's like, yes, I have this amazing UFO story I have to tell you. And then he stops and he's like, well, maybe I can't tell you. He's like, oh shit. He's like, I have to check and see if it's okay. But we think it's going to be all right for him to share that with us. So I'm really excited about that one. And there's just some really cool stories that we're collecting for the next set.
That's neat. I think you need to, by the way, get a little trail cam. They're not that expensive, and stick it there in the woods at that camp and see what comes through.
We've discovered, just give you an idea of the size that we're dealing with here. We've discovered 2 miles of trails that we didn't know were there. Wow. So every day we went up there, probably about a month solid. We went up for, I think, 28 days in a row. And every day we found a new fork or a new trail.
Wow.
So it's deep. And this camp just happened to be where they all converge. Mm-hmm. So there's one spot there where they all come together.
One time, do you think they were logging trails?
The roads that we have are logging trails, guaranteed. They're old enough that there's trees growing through the middle, like 2 or 3 foot wide trees that go through the middle of the trail. But that's what they were. They were logging roads originally.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I think you need to do that. I want to. It's fun to look through your camera and just have it motion activated and check on the things that pop through. If nothing else, you're going to catch a lot of wildlife that will be really neat.
Oh yeah, for sure. We definitely have bears.
Mm-hmm. So
I want to get there's trail cams that are they're linked, and so whenever you take one of them takes a photo, it sends it back across the network, and so you can get it even on your phone immediately, like as soon as the picture's taken. So I want to get like 8 of those and set them up in various spots and see. We've got weird stuff up there.
Yeah.
So we will never sleep again. What? Seeing all kinds of creepy things.
No, that'd be amazing. I've run into hikers up there. Well, they claim to be hikers, but it's obvious that they've been living in the forest for a while. So even the humans, the verified humans that are back there.
That, I think, is the scariest part.
Yeah, they bother me the most.
Yeah.
Well, they disappeared. They're really good at that. So there's only one road where we were walking down. There's only one possible direction to go, and he passed us, but he never came out. And so that was a weird one to me. I was like, where the hell did he go? He might still be there. I don't know.
Better than you.
But yeah, it's cool. I can't wait. And then there's on the other side of the mountain, there's probably 4 or 5 more miles of trails on that end that we haven't explored either. So
You'll have your own book just of that, I think.
yeah. Well, you get David lives here, so you got to come up there and check it out with us. We're planning on doing a like a camping thing up in one of the clearings up there. And so for anybody who watches this and we disappear,
Yeah,
we went camping.
You know where to look to start.
We went camping on the mountain, and I mean, maybe come find us, maybe don't. It depends on how you feel about those situations. But
yeah, I mean, the woods are definitely creepy. I grew up in the Southeast, so like a lot of my stuff that I write is like set, like either in the woods, like communities basically surrounded by woods.
Especially, yeah, 'cause I've lived here my whole life in the Southeast, and there's so much of that. There's so much untouched land just everywhere, and the forests here are really dense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to go missing, and then all kinds of weird crap happens out there. And I know there was we found a still.
Oh, did they? Kind of cool.
They told us where a still was back here. So I mean, it's not like people haven't been hiding stuff for centuries.
Yeah.
In these woods, so I don't know. I got to read your stuff. I haven't read Sean's your book yet. I own it, but I haven't. It's like in my list of my stack of I can't possibly.
I got you, man. Appreciate that.
You got a quick route to the top if you've got Southeast setting, because I absolutely love that and would love to read more stuff that was in this area.
Yeah. I want to get. I don't have it, but I want to get it.
You both would really, really appreciate it. It's got a Stranger Things and Goonies kind of vibe.
Dig it.
It's really good.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, I just finished Stranger Things last week. Like, I don't know why we got halfway through the 3rd season, and I was just like, I can't do any more 80s.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of where I went to. I like kids to a point in a series like that, and then they grow, and it's like, no, I'm done. I'm not like, I liked you right back where you were then, where you started out from. They get too old and too big, and I don't know what it is, and then I lose interest somehow. And I definitely do not have a nostalgic feeling about the 80s. It was when my son was born, but I like that part. But the 80s themselves were not my thing. I mean, I grew up with late 60s and 70s kind of stuff, so very much a hippie era. So that was a different thing. So the 80s. Yeah, that was even music and stuff. I was still hanging on to and I still do hang on to my old music. So,
is the centipede scene a reference to one of your books, or?
That's mine. So I appreciate that, Daniela. I'm glad. I know we had
had to go there. Huh.
And can we get a page marker on that so I know to?
Probably 200 and something. I don't know, 270 somewhere around there.
About time I forget that it was supposed to be in there. But like, hell, there's a fucking centipede.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Note on which I've got to exit because actually I'm going to go and catch up with the family at dinner and whatnot. But in my participation in the cocktail hour. But it's been fun talking to all you guys.
Bye, David.
Bye, David. Bye. Enjoyed it.
See you guys later.
Bye. Actually, Jason.
Yep.
I think we all need to call it quits, don't we?
Yep.
It's
that time. We're just past 7. So everybody who watched, great to have you here. And everybody who watches later, catch us next time. We're going to start doing these. Shoot, we changed our schedule. We're going to do these every Thursday, right?
Right.
Okay. So every Thursday at 6 will be the cocktail hour. And then every other week, which means this coming Tuesday, we're going to do our book chat. So we'll be talking about mine, Watcher, and then my wife, Anna, who is the inspiration for the book, will be joining us for that. And David will be hosting, and we'll just see what happens from there.
I think once we get through all of our books, we need to do like the
Oh,
Tear
yeah.
Collector, and bring other authors back on. And
For sure. If we can get, I just can't rely. I don't want to put too much on David's plate, but if we can get books that we've all read and take turns hosting, we could probably do that weekly even.
okay.
Because I think that would be cool. It's definitely the spirit of our company is to support everyone, whether we're making money off you or not.
Yeah.
We don't just support our authors; the entire indie community is. We're a family here, so I'd like to keep doing that. Maybe we can have Sean on if he would
Love to come back.
love to take questions about his centipedes, I guess. And we'll see how they go. So yeah, I hope we can do that in the future. It'll be great.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. It's been great.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Have
guys.
a good night.
Everyone have a good day. Bye.
Bye.